I'm gonna, if I can pause the questions from the team just for a second, and just to change the pace a little bit, I want to do a sort of a roundtable question where each of you get to bat this one around, and I think I'll start with Anjali, and then go Julian, Jordan, and Borja. And the question is, you know, think back on your job search, both in school and after. What best practices would you recommend in terms of things that really paid off? And as on the other side of the coin, you know, what's the biggest mistake you made as far job searching? You know, while obviously while you're in school.
Yeah. So I'll actually start with the worst mistake I made. So I would say not knowing well enough the industry you're interested in is something I was guilty of when I went to interviews. I had a general idea of the solar industry. I'd taken a class and the policies, but I wasn't up to date on what was happening at the moment in the industry. And there's plenty of, since that time learned, there's plenty of information on the web, and there's plenty of blogs that cover solar energy. Hope you guys have heard of Green Tech Media, which is a huge site to get a lot of the up-to-date information about relating to anything renewable or energy efficiency. So that is something that didn't hurt me in the job process, but at my senior manager, I talked to him. He's the one who interviewed me. I ended up joining his team. And when I was asking him for feedback for my interview, and he mentioned that it would have been nice to see more industry knowledge coming out during the interview. So that's something I would highly stress, is getting to know the industry you're interested in through things like Green Tech Media. In terms of best practices, reach out to alumni, such as the two people on this panel. I found really helpful, not only in understanding different industries and what entry-level graduates can do, but also getting a sense of just what the transition to a full-time career is like. And I had a couple of alumni that I reached out to that I just sat down with and talked both through what they're doing in their job and how they enter the interview process. And at the end, of course, they keep you in mind, and if there's any job openings, they'll forward them to you. And they'll also let you know of other companies to look into. So I found that knowledge sharing of just finding other companies they might not have found just by a web search or going to career fair, really useful. So talking to alumni one-on-one, as well as general networking events with alumni.
I would highly recommend also trying to get in contact with alumni. Not just alumni. I think the best thing that I did was getting in contact with just just individuals in the company. So however you can, if you have a friend of a friend, like LinkedIn is one of the best actually tools to figure out how you can get in contact with someone, and making an effort to maybe go out to the area where you want to work, try to get lunch with the person, just kind of like form a personal connection, because I found that people are going to help you the most when you have that connection. That being said, I think the worst thing I did was probably when looking at other companies, especially the bigger companies where it's maybe harder to, or it seems more daunting to find that connection. Just throwing your resume in a pile and not really talking to anyone, even if it's just at a career fair. It's good to get that very specialized contact. So not doing that, I think, can hurt a lot. Your resume can just get lost in all the piles, because the bigger companies, they get tons of resumes every day. So you definitely want to have someone inside the company vouching for you.
Jordan?
Yeah, so I'll start off with kind of some mistakes. I would say don't limit yourself at all, particularly with the industry that you want to work in. Say you're dead set on solar. Well, if you can't get in there, maybe you accept something in wind, or maybe you accept something in energy efficiency. So keep your options open in that aspect. Also, don't limit yourself in terms of geographic location. Be willing to relocate. Be willing to go where the job is, at least for your first few years, and get some experience under your belt, and then you can kind of have more control about where you live and pick better areas, or be closer to family, or whatever it is that you're looking for at the
time. I guess for my perspective, LinkedIn, like Julian said, is a huge tool, and that's actually how I kind of got it. I actually, in order to get I started off in this position as an intern, and I had originally looked online on LinkedIn for people that were working in in the company that I'm working on and were specific to the offshore industry. And I outreach to them, send them a whole bunch of, I forget what they're called, emails. They're not emails, but on the specific LinkedIn ones. But anyways, I sent them those in-mails, I think they're called. And in the end, it actually turned out that none of them had a direct role in me getting the position, but during my interview with my current boss, actually I mentioned it to him. I mentioned that, like, oh, by the way, do you know blah blah and so, because I had contacted them prior to applying to this internship, and that seemed to really have struck a note with him, because he eventually told me, he's like, that's one way that you really stuck out, because I knew these individuals, and the fact that you had the interest to outreach to them, even though you weren't so sure that they were associated or they worked with me, really made you stand out. So that was something that was definitely worked to my favor, and that I would recommend to anybody.
Excellent responses, guys.
Yeah.
All right, I have no
Can I
idea.
add a piece here too, Mike? I forgot to add the positive side of that there. I think just getting project and leadership experience through student organizations is huge. Even if the projects that you're working on aren't necessarily completely related to what you end up doing, you still get a lot of the basics down, like internal communications and project planning, and external communications, and knowing how to run a meeting and things like that go a long way. So that's another piece I would add, is continue getting that leadership experience.
This is exactly the stuff these guys need to hear. All righty, I don't know who's next. I've completely lost track, but you guys seem to know. Go for it.
Can I
Oh,
add on to,
yeah, go for it.
Sorry. Just following what Jordan said, I completely agree. I think I was involved in Engineers Without Borders for my 4 years at college, and just the breadth of experience you get staying with the organization for that long, going through different leadership experience, it gives so much fodder for interview questions when he asks you, hey, what's the time that you had to get through a difficult situation or work with people with opposing ideas, or give an example of a project you love or led. Those are great resources for those answers. I found it helped me extremely in the interview process.